These are great mics. Yeah, I mean, I did a YouTube research before, and then we're just rolling with it, by the way.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I just did a quick YouTube research on the different products, and one of them brought up this mic, and it was pretty low cost, but good quality. It was the nicest balance between the two. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah, I love it.
Cool.
So what up?
I'm here. I was like, I don't know, podcast. What am I talking about? Like, but I figured, and then I was like, I literally had manifesto. I was like, you know what, Trina, just go have a chat with Bidier. It doesn't really matter. And then I read your overview, like, just be casual. You don't have to prepare. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That makes it easy to just come on and just sort of catch up, you know? It's been a while. And so what's up? Love the hat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, my girlfriend created this brand, well, her and a friend, called Sleek Street. And, you know, I love to support the arts of all kinds. So I was pretty impressed by it. I got this one for my birthday. But yeah, it's pretty cool. They've got a few designs, and they're all like made in the USA and designed by them, and all the materials are manufactured in the US. So they were keeping it local.
And this is one of Chris's friends?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, Leanne. So yeah, Sleek Street. So I thought, hey, I'll give, you know, I'd love to give a little plug to designers. So even though it's not a Cayman designer, but.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's a cool hat. I love it.
Yeah, they did a great job. It's got like this hot pink carrying case so you could travel with it and it'll be protected.
Cool.
Yeah, it's like the female take on ball cap life, you know. Little satin on the inside so it protects your hair.
Okay, really?
Their tagline is "Claim Your Crown," so women's empowerment.
I love it.
Made by women for women. Love that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
And it's kind of edgy. Like, this is funny. I wore it and I was like, man, this feels almost like controversial. Not really controversial, but like, you know, in Cayman, we've got such like wholesome values. And I think that every time I step out and like actually do things that are really just me, but seem a little edgy, I can't help but like have that early days Cayman, like little like, ooh, I'm bad.
Right.
You know, whatever that means.
And that's so funny because as Caymanians, we know that. But I feel like you have like such a special connection to that. I mean, you're Caymanian in that sense for sure. Like that you, although you were born here, you know what that's like to just be yourself. And then all of a sudden that's just like, there's a lot of fingers pointing at you.
Right. And I came here so young. So I remember I was like 10 when I first came here. And my stepmom already had a connection for many years. Like her dad was here from 65. So I remember her kind of like being like, stating the lay of the land, you know, like this is how it goes, you know, you don't do this because that's not right. And, you know, it's Cayman, like it's, you know, you're not in your own country kind of way and you follow this way. And so there was a certain respect and maybe even a little fear instilled, you know? And I guess too, when every expat has that fear of like, oh my gosh, I could get kicked off. And back in those days, you really could just get kicked off. Like there was that, you know, it still existed.
Legitimate fear.
Yeah, well, and also people had pull that I think now there's a bit more checks and balances. So I think you really would have to do something that legitimately got you kicked off. You know? But that was sort of the fear as well. Yeah, and then...
Yeah, I mean, it still kind of exists and persists. Like, you have to think twice before you put that hat on.
Yeah.
Who are you going to run into?
Well, it's not even that, you know, because at the same time, you know, as we get older, we're like, no matter where you live in the world...
That's true.
You kind of just go, man...
Who cares?
Why am I worrying about these things? Like, just perspective on life. But... There was a tiny little niggle of like some of the like conservative values here that, you know, I do respect. And at the same time, I think it can be a little stifling for your creativity and for your self-expression. And I think every Caymanian, you know, in talking, it's like, that's kind of common, you know, where you're like, oh, I want to speak up, but like, am I going to get blacklisted? Or, you know, like certain little fears that people carry through. And the younger generation, I feel like, don't seem to have that as much at all. Like,
you don't think so?
No, I feel like they have this kind of, they've had a different upbringing. They've had a different exposure.
Yeah, that's true. They
you
did.
know?
Yeah. Huh.
So you see,
and that's good. I mean, because
you see them really expressing themselves, and I don't think they really care. I think they seem pretty like maybe less impacted by
it.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. The evolution of Cayman, right?
I mean, ultimately, whatever, what's good or bad anyways, because there's always like what your values are. And I think sometimes, there can be some rigidity in going by a certain, that's just the way it is. Whereas actually you can feel when something's not right. So whether it is like, the way things work or, something that we're doing development-wise, like you kind of know when something just doesn't sit right. And, we all make choices, right? It's like, what choice, what are we going to focus on today? And how are we going to show up?
Yeah, I think that's just a good question for Cayman in general going through into next year, with everything that's happening and moving in to that whole election season, I guess. And yeah, good questions. It's interesting to see who has a long-term perspective on Cayman. What does that look like? Yeah, no.
And like, where is our generation? How are we influencing things differently? Every election, I'm like, okay, people our age, we've got to have more like voice and representation.
Right.
And we've seen, younger people get elected.
Right.
But Cayman's different now. Like, it's changed a lot. And even just sometimes I'm almost like have to like rub my eyes like and not recognize it. And I'm like, well, things have changed gradually. I get it. And it hasn't happened overnight. But sometimes it feels like that. It feels like there's a different makeup. And it actually feels like when we talk about like who your audience is and who we're catering to, it has changed because the product has changed, which means the people we're attracting has changed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you sound like you were head of CITA at one point.
Well, the benefit of being involved in tourism and, as an executive director and other stakeholders as well, we got to sit into the media buying and planning and strategy sessions to figure out who our target audience is, what our product is.
Cool.
Even the Cayman Kind, that came from a big, private-public strategy workshop, different workshops, and then it came the Cayman Kind. Really, it was a branding tagline, but it became more of an ethos of, being proud of who we are.
Right.
And really embracing the fact that our product is the people and the friendliness and the warmth.
Right.
Which is why also that still rings true, but as we grow, our makeup has changed so much, so the population has grown. So really that kind of old-time Cayman charm is actually kind of harder to find now.
Right. Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah. And I had seen a presentation by a marketing team for DOT in the last couple of years, and it had shifted to more of what you're saying, sort of more multicultural, multinational, branding, and I was like, interesting, and like, multi-activity, multi-food.
Right, the food's been playing for the last like decade at least, because actually, if you've been to any other Caribbean islands, and which I'm sure you have, and also like North American cities, our food product, like restaurant and atmosphere and everything, is way more in line with like a New York City than like, Trinidad and Tobago or Jamaica. Or, it's just different because we have that mix of, financial services that brings people that are living here all the time, as well as tourism. We have we have more customer base to support those kind of high-end, funky, cool, culinary experiences.
For sure. I mean, I think that's something we're proud of as Caymanians.
That's interesting that you say that, because that's also really been pushed through marketing and branding, what we already had. And it actually made people go, oh yeah, locally, we have this. We're proud of this. Hey, we're a culinary destination.
Right.
That was our tagline one year, Culinary Capital of the Caribbean.
I remember, and I think it's funny that how you're saying that, because it's something that we kind of knew, but because we never articulated it, we didn't really celebrate it.
Right.
So when they came up with, Cayman Culinary Capital of the Caribbean,
Yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, actually we are. And that makes sense. And here are reasons why, and the food's great. And, there's lots of festivals. But we needed to sort of articulate that before we could
And
celebrate.
I don't know if you saw recently, there was an article about DOT's recent spend, was like 12 million or something.
Yes.
And some people were like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, yeah, like that's not unusual.
That's not a big, it's
because if you're marketing in, predominantly North America and spreading to open new markets
right.
in Latin America and as well as nurture the UK market,
right.
Europe market. I mean, dollars only go so far.
Right.
And actually, that whole thing about what we were talking about, the culinary and Cayman kind,
right.
the spillover effect of when you do a really great marketing campaign for the destination is it does something socially to our community.
That's a very good point. That's awesome.
And
I
from a
love that.
budgetary standpoint,
right.
You could argue that maybe some other funds, from other ministries would support this confidence building and like identity building so that Caymanians are like, we know who we are versus that, oh, what are we? That was a conversation for a long time. And I think it's less and less because we are, a high-end tourism destination.
Right.
The difference between other Caribbean islands, I mean, we do have the amazing sun, sand, sea that everybody has.
Right.
I mean, our beaches are great, but, there's other places. But it's that accessible, kind of feels, the fact that it even kind of feels a little North American, feels safe to people.
Yeah.
And it is safer more to get around on your own.
Yeah.
So we do have that. But it's just, I think there's a part of me that's, really loved the slower times of, more little pull-offs on the beach where there was kind of nothing and nobody. That it is kind of odd to know that, wow, places like Tilly's or Kimpton, like that's kind of our norm.
Right.
It's kind of hard to find those off the beaten spots that actually tourists love of all, demographics.
Right.
They really do love like the Eastern Star kind of like
vibe
if they can find it.
Right.
And to me, that's actually we got to preserve that. I mean, it's authenticity.
Right.
People know authenticity when they see it.
Right. And
that's
I
where
love
branding and marketing, if you're too aggressive with it and too like perfect like Pinterest and Instagram, people feel it. It lacks authenticity. People don't know why. That it's pretty and it's nice, but they're like, but something's missing.
Right. I love that. But I'm learning something here, like straight up. No, I never thought about a marketing campaign that actually affects the public, but that makes so much sense. Like that's now I feel like there's a level of responsibility there. Like that's really important.
Even us sharing the DOT commercials that we worked on, the Cayman Islands commercials, that builds, pride and awareness. And like, it reminds me like, wow, we really do live in this cool place.
Right.
So I used to always push that back in the day when I was more involved actively in the destination marketing. I would always say, can we please get the footage of what's out in the markets? Because usually the spots would go, they'd serve on international TV, and you might never see them.
Right.
And
we never saw them.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We heard about them. Like our relative in the States, we'd be like, yo, yeah, I saw the Cayman commercial.
Like, what? Oh, okay. And I would always say, please share them, because us sharing them on our social media and celebrating them is like, oh yeah, this is why we're doing this. Because you're driving down the road, you got cruise ship passengers running in front of you. You go to Stingray City and you're like, oh man, I gotta go on this day.
Right.
You kind of forget that, wait a minute, it's because we have this beautiful place that people want to come to, and we're sharing it with them.
Yeah.
And that's really the key. Like, how much do we share and how do we maintain our authenticity?
Yeah.
And still open the doors, to generate revenue and, thrive, help businesses thrive. The amount of water sports operators that we have out there. They're touching and influencing so many people throughout the day. And we forget we're like plucking away at our desks.
Right.
It's like, that's all happening out there.
Right. It's so true. You don't really think about it, especially at the magnitude of which it is happening.
Yeah, we've got millions of people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they all have their individual experience here and impression. And that's why, whether it's the airport or whether it's accommodations or, our signage around and how we operate, every touch point influences people's perspective of here.
Right.
And I mean, in my experience, maybe not, cruise is a different ball game because they get really channeled through,
Sure.
a short experience.
Right.
But most stayover visitors, I mean, a lot of them, especially the ones that are attracted to condos and kind of more Airbnb type places,
Right.
they inevitably are trying to figure out how to move here.
Yeah.
They're like, you guys have something going on, right? We got to figure out how am I going to move here?
Right. And it's like a good investment for them as well, right? It's like...
Yeah, well, not having property tax every year, that really dings you in the U.S. and Canada and almost every other country. Right,
exactly. So there's a lot of reasons, and I guess there's still a lot of future left in Cayman too, right?
Yeah, I mean, Chris and I were having this conversation the last few days because we're, kind of leaning in, and I've had waves of like, okay, I got to get off the island. I got to go somewhere else. I don't know what I'm going to do, but just let me go experience something else. And now I've come back and I'm leaning in again and going, wait a minute, I literally can be at work in 5 minutes. I come home, I walk out and go like down to the Iron Shore and like unwind or go float in the sea.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of nice.
Yeah, especially when you understand really what it is that you're doing and how special that is. Then,
Gratitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, every day.
Huh. I mean, I definitely don't do that that often, but yeah, like.
But how do you feel when you do?
Always better.
Yeah. That's why, like, rather than make it a big deal, I went to Bali in 2016 or 17. And it was kind of funny because it's like this, I just looked like this stereotypical, like, eat, pray, love chick going there. But, and in a way, it just lends itself to that. It's a very spiritual place. It's beautiful. But I was going to see a girlfriend that I met here through, like, business.
Okay.
And one of the things, of course, I totally appreciated our beaches, actually, after being there. I mean, I'm sure I know they have the water that's just like ours, but in general, like, our water is the perfect temperature.
Yeah.
It's totally clear.
Yeah.
It's just easy.
The sand is powder.
It's just
There's a lot of good stuff going on. Yeah.
So I made this vow, but really it was more of a awakening for me of incredible amount of gratitude, and really helped me reset to focus my life here or anywhere on appreciating the little things throughout the day. And my mom had, just got sick too. So there's some of that puts life into perspective.
Right.
But that if I can just really appreciate, my cup of coffee or tea in the morning, the cup that I'm drinking out of, the top that like means something because, I got it at this thrift store during film set.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I got so friendly with the thrift store people that they would like pull things for me. Hey, try this. I saved this for you. Or like, check this out. I think you'll like it.
Nice.
The point is like when you lean into all the details like that and open yourself up to really having special moments at the tiniest little time, whether it's with a gas station attendant or anything, your life just starts to get bigger. It just gets, and
it expands almost.
It expands, and you're creating this like ease, like you're opening up and going, hey, God, universe, whatever you believe in, I'm ready. Like let me be guided by you, but in a sense of like really trusting that everyone is here to like take care of each other. We're okay, and so that sort of ethos that I adopted transferred also into I live in the really beautiful place, and I've been working and hustling for years, raising my son, having multiple businesses, kind of like stressed out a little bit maybe, but still with a smile on my face, but maybe kind of bearing a little bit too much.
Sure.
And I thought, okay, when I get back to Cayman, I'm going to have a bikini in my car every day, so that even if I just have a minute to jump out. And I mean, I'm blessed with like my hair dries really fast, so people don't maybe know that I've been in the sea, you know. But I just said, don't make it so complicated to go to the beach. You know, there were lots of years where I would maybe put that to side.
That's a good slogan, actually. Don't make it so complicated to get to the beach.
Literally just jump in, jump out, and even if I have a few minutes, and there's days where I've gone like in full-on work clothes, not to go to the beach, but even pull up by Tiki Beach, just walk out, maybe do a quick, if I've finished in a call, like literally a work call, and then sit and meditate, breathe, you know, just deep breathe for a few minutes.
Nice.
And I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go back.
A little bit goes a long way.
Yeah.
Huh.
So take advantage and really appreciate what we have.
Yeah.
Because it's changing. Yeah, I have my reservations about some of the bouginess.
Right.
You know, because it's kind of like almost feels like I can't avoid it.
Right.
You know, I have a harder time. I still know the spots. You know, we got the roti shop, we got the little places here and there, but yeah, some days I'm like, man, do we have to be so bougie all the time?
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's just a lot going on, you know, from top to bottom.
It's abundance, though, really.
There you go. I like it. That's a good way to look at it.
And there's always been abundance here.
Yeah, I love that. And you're 100% right. And why not more abundance, you know?
Conscious abundance.
Amen.
Conscious choices.
Amen to that.
Yeah, and maybe sometimes making like the conscious choice that you know is right, maybe is going to be the harder one, you know?
Right.
Like, think about every single government. I never like envy government leaders because it's like no matter what you do, somebody's not going to be happy.
Sure.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So you just have to know where we're going and
execute and
deal
with
the path.
With the criticism.
Yeah.
It is tough for sure. You can't win. It's kind of you're going to lose something along the way.
Yeah, and you know, for years I've kind of struggled with that because I have had a hand in some pretty big interesting leadership discussions and moments and shifts, you know, along the way. And I can't help but have empathy for some of those tough decisions that maybe to the general public don't seem like they make sense, but they're still operating like Cayman Islands Inc. Like it still has to work.
Right.
And we have actually set ourselves up to where our economy does require development. It does require even what we built, you know, even where we were at a few years ago, we kind of knew that to sustain it, we still needed a few more people here because it was like a little bit spread out. We weren't able to, so, you know, it's give and take. We've made decisions, you know, in the past few generations. Yeah. So we can't really halt the brakes and become the like sleepy, you know, green place like completely. Right. But we, I guess, have to decide like really where do we want to go? Right. You know.
I love that perspective. Yeah. And I like that we've embraced the tech sector as well. I think that was super important for Cayman. I think not to get into crypto or anything, but I think crypto was a good thing for Cayman and will be a good thing for Cayman because of the nature of the fact that we are financial services. Yeah. So I love that. I think
we're like pro-business. We you know, we have credibility within the international, you know, world of finance. Right.
So even though they try to put us on lists every now and then. Right?
Yeah, of course, because it's almost too good to be true. They're like, hey, no.
Yeah.
You can't have everything. Yeah. You know, you can have no taxes, but you can't have everything.
That's funny. Right? That's very true.
But you're right. I mean, we've got like strong infrastructure that's totally first world. So as far as like, you know, you're going to have internet, you know, you're going to have like, you know, sturdy
food, transportation,
and, everything,
communication.
So, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah,
if you're an online.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, we made it happen with those films, back to back to back to back. Just,
wow, yeah.
You know, just
I'm
seeing
so proud
how
of that.
Yeah, me too. You know how Cayman, you know, we were able to do it. You know,
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, we can pull off some pretty amazing things, even though we're a really small country.
Right.
We can even have swimmers that go and make the final at the Olympics.
Love that.
I mean, we're a small country, but hey. Although someone told me he doesn't live here, so maybe he's getting trained somewhere else. But still, you know.
I don't know, actually.
I don't know if that's true. I'm not sure.
No, it's fun. I mean, it was like one of those things that you were just talking about where, you know, something that was happening, that was televised, impacted the community because we all rallied behind it. Everyone got very patriotic about it. families got together and enjoyed a moment?
Oh yeah, we had a whole thing. I walked into the office, and I do property management now, right? So I'm going, and everybody's usually doing their own thing in and out. And I looked to the left in the conference room, and everyone was in there. Like, I've never even seen all the employees before. And I've seen them not in the same place at the same time.
Right.
And the TV was on, and the final was just about to start. Right. And somebody had their Cayman hat, someone had a flag, and we're all like rooting. And it was like really, really special. Yeah. It was really cool.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, for such a small country, some pretty cool things happen. And the movies were the other cool thing about being a small country, but still like a community that has all the workings of a bigger, larger country, which I've always found really like just interesting and unique, for like the fact that we live here and we can literally run into the governor at the garden party or something. It's not like, yeah, I saw the governor like 3 times already this month. I'm good,
Right.
Is like, it's just shocking to think that we do, a pretty great job adulting as a country as well,
Right.
and the movies, I mean, that was such a great opportunity. I would love to see more of that be possible. And I know because of COVID, we were this perfect little bubble that made sense for them to come here.
Right.
But seeing all the local like crew, come together and be and really rise up to the level that was expected with the international, producers, directors, film crew.
Right.
Was, really inspiring. And I loved seeing all the younger Caymanians really like embracing it, and you could see them change and grow throughout the films,
right. Yeah, it was a training, Yeah, I mean, it was awesome for everyone. It was an amazing opportunity and experience, and it definitely, helped propel everything along. And it's helped me incredibly. I mean, I went from, I've always had these careers that sort of just happen, and doing set design and buying and basically interior designing all these places, right.
Now I'm like, property will come up and it needs an overhaul, and I'm like, boom, film set mode. I'm like, I can have this thing set in a day.
I love that.
Because we had to find some things like in a hurry. It was pretty challenging sometimes.
Yeah, I remember that was a part of your guys' job that I was envious about, was that you got to visit those thrift shops where you got that top, and
I mean, thrift shops,
all these little places,
yards, houses. I would be like, I need some strange thing, and like these, and I can't even imagine if they'd only had the like overseas people trying to do my job,
right,
because they were struggling for weeks, and they kept calling me about things, art. It started out for local art, and I was like, okay, I can help, and then eventually I'm like, man, I think I should just do this job. And really, like, I guess actually this wasn't during film set, this was during DOT, but the best one was like, yeah, I can get some silver thatch rope, no problem. And call over all the island, even museum didn't have it. For some reason, everyone was out of rope. And I'm like, so of course I go to this lady's house in West Bay who I know makes the strand, Miss Marlena.
Right.
And she like sells me this ball of strand. Call Mr. Gerlo in East End, Gerlo Rankin, back from my Cayman traditional arts days. And he's like, yeah, no problem. He's probably like 82 or something. And he's like, yeah, no problem. Come on out, Trina. And I said, do you have, like, he's like, well, I got to find someone to help me, but we'll figure it out.
Right.
I'm like, okay. So I zip up there. I'm supposed to be back here for a production meeting. And I zip up, and he's got some relative or neighbor or something who's not all quite, something was with him, but he was doing the cob at the other end, and he had me do the turn at the other end. So basically I'm making rope. Right. Gerlo's working the cob, the other one's working the other end, and I'm doing the turning. Rope. And I'm like, this is crazy. Right. I can't believe I'm actually making this rope, but hey, we're gonna get it.
That's awesome. That's such a that's what making movies is like.
Oh.
You end up doing these weird, odd things that you just would never normally do.
And
Like you find
these
yourself making
really,
rope.
Yeah, and
you
having
know?
these really authentic,
Yeah,
amazing
true.
connections.
True. That's very true.
With people, and that was actually the beauty of it. For me, I was in my element because I'm like, wait, I get to just go connect with people
Right.
that are going to help me find really obscure things
Right.
for a movie.
Right.
Okay, I'll do that
Sign
every
me
day.
up.
Yeah, it was absolutely one of the most fun I've had.
You were perfect for that job. Are you kidding?
Yeah, it was like,
That's-
it definitely played to, how I roll naturally.
Yeah,
it
you're right.
really did. And yeah, I would be amazed. There would be people on Women of Cayman on the Facebook group that would just, offer like some weird crystal decanter that we needed for
Right.
like one of the, gangster scenes or something.
Okay.
And come by my house. You can just borrow it, because I offered to rent or, purchase or whatever. And no problem. You could just borrow it, just bring it back,
Cool.
tell me, take a photo of it on the set.
Right.
I was like, oh my gosh, that's Caymankind.
Right.
And these were all like, it was like full blown Caymanians to like, Caymanians like me to expats.
Right.
Like it was the full complement
Right.
coming together to help whatever we needed.
You're right.
And it was like, wow, that's so cool.
That's true, man. Like our community does lend itself to being able to like source or communicate with each other really quickly to find something really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's not very many degrees of separation. Like boom,
Right.
boom, boom.
It's actually kind of magical. We talk about it I just spoke about it at work the other day with Tim because I'm like, someone was like upset about timing on a repair or something, whatever. And he's like, Trina, we if we lived anywhere else in the world, we would never be able to get people out like we do.
Right.
Like if you have something wrong, if anything goes wrong or even you need like a major overhaul, I can find someone. I mean, I might have to pull a string with them and be like, please, ask a favor.
Right.
But I could get someone almost immediately to show up.
Right.
And like pre-hurricane, that's how it was. Like people, no problem. I'll go get those coconuts down or whatever. Like just incredible.
Right.
And it's like literally just that's where we still do have that small town charm about it. People just get it.
Yeah. You can just walk into anywhere kind of and knock and ask.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Huh.
Yeah, we still door knocked.
Yeah, we've done it pretty recently, I think. Yeah. You know what that's like. You're right. We have scouted together many times, actually.
Hey, we need a house. We really like yours. And
Yeah.
we might want to film here with like 30 people.
They're like, oh. And then the one guy was all excited. Remember the real estate guy?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like he was like all on it. Like, what are you guys shooting? And that was an obscure shoot that never happened. Remember?
Yeah.
We were looking at garage doors.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been fun.
But So when you're working set, do you miss being? When you're working in set design, do you miss being on set? What's that like?
Oh.
Is there a?
You know what? Because I was doing my hustle and having these magic moments that I've described a few of them to you, I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything, but I did have the opportunity to like do the final set dress and then they'd start filming, or I could go to set sometimes if I wanted. So I did go check out hot sets sometimes. Like I'm like, I'm just going to go by just to see it come together. But for the most part, I was like, so kind of like I'd accomplish so much each day, like so much that I'd just be like satisfied and like, let them have their Hollywood moment with all my cool stuff, Yeah. It's all of it. I guess I was just truly appreciating like the art of the details of, there was a lot of thought that went into, if we like knowing a character and then getting in their head and then designing a room for that character.
Cool.
And
really
so
cool.
I definitely I do this all the time. Like if there's something that I guess we all do where you're just having fun with it and you like it, I might go the extra mile to get something like super authentic. That maybe isn't necessary, but whatever. Why not? Why not? Like, or just make that added like touch to make the room really come together. That was what I loved the most. But yeah, I didn't really feel like I missed it. I felt like you guys had your own kind of like stress and intensity.
Right.
And there was a lot of like all night shoots.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm okay with that. I was a doula, you know, for many years. Like I would
What's that mean?
Well, I would help deliver babies. So,
okay.
Because in my massage therapy career, it really lent itself to, well, I had my son at the first year, and then I got into prenatal massage, and after having him natural and like just going into this yoga breath, and I just did what I did. It was very intuitive. I was like, people need like that support so that you're not just in this medical, you know, like pushed through the kind of conveyor belt, you know, thing. And it was kind of new. Like I feel like I was a bit ahead of my time, especially here.
Right.
But yeah, I would do. Everybody has their baby in the middle of the night. Like labors happen in the middle of the night. Like you know, I've done those intense hustles. Like, and sometimes it can be more than a day.
Yeah.
If someone's in labor. So I don't know. I'm okay with daytime work.
Yeah. No, I sort of admire the art team. You know, because they're not on set. I respect that kind of, and then also the fact that they come back after we're shooting, like clean up everything. I'm like, yeah, and then. You know, it's just such a powerful effect on the final film too.
Right. Yeah.
And I have a lot of respect for the art team, and I don't think I really want to work in the the art department, but yeah, I just think about you guys a lot. You know, you guys are like you're like your own clan.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, you're doing your own thing.
I don't even think we're in most of the end photos when they cut the final movie and like the teams there. I think we're like not even there. You know, but yeah, it's its own. And I know some people would feel that on the team. They would feel a little left out of like the action. I think, like I said, because I was having a lot of these fun connection moments, I had a really special. To me, being a buyer was like the best.
It's an awesome.
It was so fun. It was so cool.
Yeah.
So rewarding and fulfilling to like, you know, accomplish that. But yeah, like even the process, what I loved, and I learned this at film set, and it just made me appreciate staying in your own lane.
Right.
So film set is like this weird, like, culture of, you know, community, and you do what you do, and you don't look at what everyone's doing. You don't pick up their gear. If that thing is there, that stays there, and you just do your thing, and everybody stays in their own lane. Right. And I thought, you know, Cayman's no different. Well, because I think it happens everywhere, but you know what Caymanians like to me, like on the porch with the aunties and everybody. Yeah. Everybody's like talking about everybody's this and that and trying to solve this and that. Right. And like I think as women we kind of do that naturally anyways. Like it's our nature to want to solve everyone's problems. And film set really, you know, and I was like really looking at that at that time. You know, I was a newly empty nester, and I was like really evaluating how much of my identity was like mothering people. And the whole film set culture was so interesting because I'm like, everything is okay if you just stay in your own lane. If I know that, like, if that box is going to stay there and I get out and I forget, I know that box is still going to be there. I don't have to worry that somebody picked it up. Right. Or they're going to call me and say, hey, do you want me to pick this up? Right. I just kind of loved that. Yeah. It was like this weird machine that operated, and I was like, I respected the machine. Yeah. I thought it was really, and I felt very humble because I didn't know all the like machine parts. Right. And I didn't, usually I was in, you know, I've been in like mostly leadership roles. And so not really knowing all the lingo, I was like, okay, you know. Yeah. But yeah, I really appreciated it. It was a really cool, you know, experience to see that and see how, I think what it's like in business, I think that's where I relate it to. I think in business and in life and in relationships, you know, it's really about taking care of yourself. You know, don't worry about what other people are doing. You know, take care of your home first, your own body. There's a lesson there. Your own mind, your own duties and tasks, instead of worrying and distracting yourself with what that person should be doing or that person should be doing. Like, keep it humble. Keep it here. This is where you are. This is what you're doing. Really, you know, be really great at taking care of your own body so you're not a burden to others, so that you can be sharp and show up and your own tasks, so you know you can be accountable for what you signed up for. Right? Yeah, I love that. Film set is like that. You know, that's a very good lesson there. Yeah. You're right. There is a lot of humility in that. You know, you're in your lane. Yeah.
And everyone else is in their lane, and you don't know what they're doing and what they're talking about.
You don't even know. You're
even
not
though
even
you're
on the
all
same channel as them. You're like, I don't know what that channel is about.
Exactly. But yet, even though you don't know what they're doing, you're all working together too on this project. You're like, it is a machine, and it is humbling to be, and not just humbling, but like also you're happy to be a part of one of the cogs, like
exactly. And that's where I think people, we all, especially younger people, everyone kind of wants to be an entrepreneur, right? Mm-hmm. But there's also a beauty in knowing what you're good at and being able to just do that. And so that doesn't mean you can't be an entrepreneur, but maybe you need to learn that a little bit in an environment that moves like that, where you can appreciate that other roles, make it all work.
Right.
Yeah, and that's where I thought it was invaluable. Like, I wish we could have every young person in Cayman that knows they're not like the accountant type.
Right.
I wish all of them could go through film set.
Right. That's a very good point.
I literally, I couldn't help but think that. Because there's a lot of people that, go to school, and especially the British system, you're really funneled into a certain direction, and it's all super exam heavy and pressure. But at the end of the day, what are we really teaching? I mean, we actually, if you're going to be healthy and well, you need to have a balanced life.
Right.
And you need to have certain experiences. And, I think
education is changing.
Yeah, and I think not everyone
changing.
fits into. I think a lot of people feel like they're, they maybe aren't getting what they need, or feel like they fit in or belong somewhere.
Yeah.
So finding other avenues to basically give people, an opportunity to have purpose and to do something that they care about, or that, fulfills them.
For sure. And like you're saying, a film set's a perfect opportunity for that, because there's just so many different roles.
Yeah. So and even tourism too. That's
underdeveloped from a Caymanian perspective, for sure.
Yeah, the boat operators for sure have an advantage, meaning there's certain Caymanians, if you kind of grew up and your dad or uncle was on the water, they kind of produce more.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Yeah. But that's still kind of limited. There's still other, there's other avenues. I mean, but
just
water.
Like in the hotels or even restaurants. Or,
exactly. And there's more, in restaurants. It was so hard to get Caymanians in the restaurant industry before. But some of the younger ones, that have been away and come back, they have no problem with it, because, the whole stigma.
Yes.
Right.
All right. It's the Cayman stigma.
Yeah.
Oh, you work in a restaurant, or?
Yeah. Something's wrong.
And what are you doing, or?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, though, because in Canada, growing up in Canada, and I grew up in a little tiny town, so it's not that much. Cayman was in Westport and moved to West Bay.
Ah, that's awesome.
So, but the difference, and I've said this before to people, I still can go back, and there's some lady, that I've known for years working in a convenience store, or a little boutique, or the restaurant bar. Everyone in town, it's they're all very well respected. They would never, and they have they do well, in those industries, they drive a nice car, they have their own home,
right.
It's completely normal and like I said, and respected. And I think we're getting closer to that, but it was just harder to encourage people when it felt that you'd be maybe looked down upon.
Yeah, it's that's so crazy. Maybe the next DOT campaign will help impact the public consciousness a little bit, to allow us to step into those industries that we don't want to step into for whatever reason.
Well, I think it takes time, right? So changing perspective, and that's where, long-term branding and marketing from even a country perspective,
right.
You can help people, you can help to shape, the message,
right.
and the perspective. So yeah, if you see more, they've been showing those billboards with construction workers. Caymanians in construction. I don't know if you saw them.
I haven't seen that.
It's like they had the Proud of them, and then they expanded Proud of them to be with the construct. And I was like, that's cool.
Right.
I mean,
that is cool.
There's certain industries that, the pay for what you do. I know it's hard to get into that industry because you start out pretty low pay.
Right.
I think Andrew I think he was getting like $4 an hour. And he was like, 16, like lifting big stuff. Like, I'm like, seriously? $4 an hour? Like, really?
Yeah.
But, so I think it's harder. You have to be more skilled to move up, but it is if you have the perseverance and dedication, there's tons of opportunity.
Right.
In that industry here, clearly. Because there's construction everywhere.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah. And I don't see that ending anytime soon. I don't know about you, but
no, I don't.
I think that's who we are for quite a while.
Yeah.
Because then it's just going to get more east, and then
there's a lot of land left to develop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love how you miss the charm, but you're still optimistic about the future, and sort of like, where's the balance for that? Because I think we do need to find the balance for that.
Well, I think there's a certain reality and embracing.
That's your phone blowing up.
Oh, embracing what you have, and that the whole gratitude practice. That's actually part of my daily practice, and it has been a life changer to have gratitude. It can take you out of the most dysregulated situations, even like if you're a little bit angry or irritated, if you just take a moment and have gratitude for literally anything, like the water I'm drinking or hanging out with you or whatever, it's like it lifts. It's a lightness. And so why would I want to drive around with a heaviness, like, oh, Cayman, I'm like, why?
It's true.
Why do I want to? That's how like a pain body develops, And if we're angry about things, we're actually resisting even solutions.
Right.
If we're just kind of have that low vibration about it.
100%. On my last podcast with Gina, we were talking about that, and like every moment there's like two things. You're either open to love or you're fearful and closed, like in every sort of moment. And we were talking about The Power of Now, that book. I don't know if you read that book, but how it relates to what you're saying is because when you pretend like you don't have a past, so you have no past and you're just here in the present, then you tend to really appreciate, like, wow, what's this cool thing? And this is a computer. What's this? And there's cameras, and you really do appreciate. It's like living in that moment.
Yeah.
In the present. And like you were saying earlier, when you do that, you find that present expands. And I don't know what that means really or what, but maybe time even slows down a bit.
It does.
And time is relative, so we know that it does slow down.
It actually, I believe it does, because when you're present, and I've been really living in the present moment sounds so cliche.
Right.
But to practice being present.
You got some suit in the back of your car. I know you live in the present.
That's present moment. That exactly. But and also like if I'm with you right now and I'm thinking about like what I got to pick up on the way home, or what I need to do or whatever, am I really here? Am I really like able to receive, connect with you, notice and see things around me? If your mind is somewhere else, it's a great example. Like I get out of my car to do something, like, or even in the parking lot at work, and one of the first things I do is notice the flowers that have fallen like on the pavement.
Right.
And so I immediately I sometimes I'll pick one up and like put it in my hair, bring it upstairs. But literally it's like just to notice those flowers on the ground, which you could just easily get out and slam your door
and not think about it at all.
Yeah, but to notice them and give them some appreciation, it automatically, like we do it, it's an exchange, and I suddenly swell and I have love and fullness in my heart. So then when I go upstairs, and see the first person, they're going to feel like that flower in the parking lot. They're not going to feel some like, dude that cut me off on the way here or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and
I love that.
Like letting those things, like holding on to those things, it's just why, So if you can, absolutely be present and appreciate that, hey, it's okay. Like, let me be here right now and okay, what do we do now? Even when there's an issue that arises, it's like, okay, I don't need to stress and blame and point fingers about
And that's
how
the
we
hardest.
got here.
That's the hardest time to do that, when something unexpected kind of happens, and the fear and the panic wants to set
Right.
in.
Yeah.
But that's really the moment where, if you can really be present at that moment and not let those emotions
Right.
run through you.
Yeah, or let them. Emotion is energy in motion. So emotion is going to go through you.
Okay, so you can't avoid that.
That's okay.
So-
but give yourself a moment. So like the sacred pause is like one of the yoga term, but actually we all can embrace it. So, someone says something to you and you immediately go,
Right.
right? Your energy's like,
Right.
and if you pause and maybe take a breath and allow that emotion, that energy to go through you, which was probably something to do with fear.
Something to do with you.
Yeah, like you feel fearful of something or you
Right.
don't feel safe.
Right.
So like even someone attacking you in a verbal way and like something little is still your body's going to go, hey, that's not safe.
Right.
Like you just attacked me.
Right.
So your body, we don't want to not react because our body's doing that because it's designed, our intuition, our
Makes sense.
energy, it's all designed to protect us.
Yeah.
But if we feel that and my body's like, and then we breathe into it because our brain knows like this person is not going to kill me or hurt me or
Right,
they're
right,
actually
right.
probably just had a bad day and said something that really had nothing to do with me.
Right.
So if we take that moment, take that pause and let that flow through us, you can receive all of it and release all of it. You receive allow everything to be receiving, which is a feminine energy. It's receiving everything, but then allow it to flow through you. You don't have to take it on. You don't have to hold on to it.
You don't have to react to
and
it.
You don't have to react.
You can observe it
and then respond.
Huh.
Yeah, and that's really like we're all on that journey. I mean, no one's perfect. We all have some little things that maybe trigger or poke at us,
Right.
and we're inclined to react. But to me, that's the same as like our day-to-day, intimate relationships or family relationships or, business and community, right? We all are designed to want safety and belonging, right? And acceptance from others.
Yeah, it is interesting that
That's the human nature, right?
Yeah. And then, yeah.
I mean, that's where, that's when we talk about Cayman, we're talking about really this, we have a small place, we like, meaning our island, like literally is
Small.
it's small. It's
Yeah.
not that large.
Yeah.
And then our community is this living, breathing mix of energies. And it's funny because I really am sensitive to it. So I'll notice, like, I can walk outside and the Friday energy, I'm sorry, like most Fridays, it's like, oh yeah, it's Friday today. Or like the buzz right before Christmas
Right.
or right before a storm.
Right.
There's that eerie,
Right.
like,
It is
movement.
eerie. And when I see that red flag out with the black square in the
and
middle.
people are just different. Or it was like right during COVID when we were all at the grocery store lined up with like a prison lineup with our masks on, and you'd see people and they couldn't even like smile or wave. They were
Yeah.
just so like there's an energy that collectively you can feel.
Right.
And I guess why I mention is because it's kind of like staying in your lane. If we can all do a good job of like being good humans, like
Right.
nice, not just nice. It's not even just nice. It's this like being authentic and, being good stewards of our community and showing up in the best way we can, in the best possible way. Like all we can do is our best,
And I think not judging. We gotta like try and not judge. And so what? He's working in the restaurant. Great. Like why does there have to be?
Yeah.
I get it. There's a sort of, like you're saying, socially, I've read this thing in this evolutionary book once that said that humans gossip because it's a way for the social group to kind of
to communicate
and point out. Yeah, it's like a safety
and create
mechanism,
order as well.
right?
Maybe,
To just make sure everything's cool. So there's an evolutionary
read that too.
function for it. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm necessarily saying stop that, but I mean, like maybe
Well, there's general care and concern, and then there's poking and bringing someone down. So Chris uses the term, he'll say like low vibe, like I don't want a low vibe, or let's not low vibe. And I think if you're speaking about someone, you know, if you're generally speaking about something that's, you know, giving information or well-being, or you're proud of them and you're sharing, versus, you know, pointing out their faults or criticizing them or judging them. And that is something like, yeah, I mean, as a community, as individuals, I think it's a good point. If we can elevate, you know, and have that love and kindness come from a place, it doesn't mean that you're always going to say something. I might say something to you from love and kindness for me that you might not like, you know, if I can't do something, but that's okay. If I'm being respectful and I'm taking care of me, and it just happens to be an answer, you know, a decision that you don't like, that's okay. You know, there's room for a bit of friction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were telling me when you were telling me earlier about you know, when somebody shoots a barb at you and your body responds. The 4 agreements, I don't know if you read that book.
I love that book.
Yeah, the second agreement, I think, is don't take anything personally.
Exactly. And that book has been like ingrained in my life and my brain.
Yeah, and I love that one especially because, like you're saying, he goes through a whole chapter explaining why, you know, the reason not to take it personally is because it almost has nothing to do with you, whatever that person said. And so he goes through the whole chapter trying to explain that. And I thought that was super cool and just very helpful, because it's amazing that emotions can rise with you so quick that you might say something that you'll regret. And it's like,
and words
can you not have more control, a little more control than that?
Well, actually, I think that is, you know, as we grow and we're, you know, evolving, and I think most people, you know, you want to be a good person, like you want to evolve and be the best person you can be. And so actually having some control, self-control is okay. You're not restricting or repressing.
Right.
But yeah, taking that pause, letting that emotion like physically run through you, because you'll feel it in your body. You might feel it in your chest, in your gut, you'll feel it somewhere. And let that feeling subside. And then from a place of like from a regulated nervous system, which there's so much more data and information available about this now, about regulating our nervous system and how important that is. If you're coming from that place where your nervous system is more regulated and calm, then you're able to speak, you know, clearly and not react, and basically do the same thing back to them. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I love that. We always have these types of conversations.
I know, right? Well, I mean, I think because we've been on this, I got a similar journey, but like really noticing like, hey, like what's working for me, and like what's like you really went into the masculine side of like how men are, energy principles, you know, and I've been really interested in feminine, you know, embodiment and what that looks like. And so it's interesting because we're getting to know ourselves, and this is what it's all about. It's kind of simple. We just, hey, how can I be, you know, have an easy, like loving, you know, fulfilling life. It's actually simpler. It's really about how we show up. What is that quote? How you show up anywhere is how you show up everywhere. Something like that. Yeah,
that makes sense. I mean, yeah, I like that.
So like it's like, how can we show up whether no one's looking or everybody's looking? You want to show up and be, you know, authentic and conscious of others, but also, you know, able to speak and say who you are and be brave when sometimes maybe like your opinion or your words, you know, are difficult for someone else to hear.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's really important for Cayman, you know, just to self-express. You keep saying authentic in this podcast, and I think that is the perfect word. Yeah. You know, like that's what matters. That's what people know it when they see it.
You can't
fake it.
Yeah.
And it's striving for that and being able to be authentic and, as often as possible is really just
Yeah,
the way to
and you
be.
mentioned the 4 agreements, and I was just thinking about one of the ones that I really love that I think we've kind of like spoke about is be impeccable with your word.
That's the first one.
And when I first read that, I got the book at the TEDx. Remember we hosted a TEDx?
Yeah, I didn't.
Marzita Bodden was the host.
That's
and
right.
I was involved in like helping put that
Okay,
together.
cool,
It was one
cool.
of those cool projects. And one of the things we had was this library, like you were supposed to bring a book that influenced you, and then you could pick a book at the end.
Okay.
So the book that I picked up was The 4 Agreements.
Cool.
I didn't read it for years.
Right,
like I just
right,
had it there for
right,
years. I
right.
can't remember when I finally read it. And then when I read it, I was like, oh my gosh. Because I read the 4 Agreements when I got it, right? The titles.
Right.
And totally misunderstood be impeccable with your word. Because to me, that seems like you have to be perfect or you have to... It's not at all.
Right.
It's not at all. It's not like you have to say the right thing, or it's about really utilizing words that are meaningful and that you mean. And
words that are meaningful and that you mean.
That you mean.
Right.
So like also, be impeccable with your word. It's also I call my girlfriends out on this, like on the phone. If you're saying like, oh, even from a manifesting standpoint, like saying something negative or putting yourself down, I'll say like, be impeccable with your word. You're putting those words out there. That's powerful.
Right,
you're
right.
telling your body, like you're saying those words out loud. So why not say words that, that we're putting that love and positivity out there? Not that everything's, has to be happy all the time, but being intentional with your words.
And understanding that it affects you. What you say.
And I think that's where that pause comes in again.
Right. And that is, that was the hardest chapter for me to get, to be impeccable with your words. Like, what does impeccable mean? What does that mean?
Yeah, because it sounds perfect. It's not about that.
Yeah, the other one.
It kind of is, but it's intentional with your words.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'd like to
I think I need to reread it.
Yeah.
I gave that book actually to Steph.
Cool.
So I don't know if she read it yet, but I probably need to pick one up again just to like check that chapter out.
I'm sure it's online as well, probably at this point.
Yeah, but that book really stuck with me.
What were the other ones?
So be impeccable with your word. Don't take things personal. Oh gosh.
I remember the third one was similar to the second one, but
always do your best.
That's the fourth one.
Yeah.
And then the third one.
Hold on. Always do your best. Be impeccable with your word. I mean, we know this. That's funny that I can't think of it. Okay, we're going to look it up. It's funny how certain books, like it's not even, I think, what you read, but I think the time that you read it, like when you read it in your life.
That's a good point.
There's just like you're ready for it.
Right.
So I opened that book when I was ready for it, when I was ready to receive it.
Right.
And that's the beauty of, living in faith. Like things come to you. And actually, speaking of faith, because that's been a big part of my life is my, leaning into faith. Just having trust and really knowing that we're okay. Like, not being egotistic. I don't have control over anything anyways, so
a good point.
Allow that. Oh shoot, what was I going to say?
Allow a measure of like you not in control, because to a large measure you're not, right?
Yeah.
And you fool yourself sometimes in thinking that you are.
Yeah.
But you are in certain elements of your life.
In certain elements,
but in other elements you're not at all.
Right. So I think the people being in a place of state of worry a lot of the times, or is actually you think that you even have a choice. Well, actually, just today is today. Anything can happen. We've witnessed it. We've been here. Maybe you're having some like row with your girlfriend or something's going on at work, and all of a sudden there's an earthquake, and everyone is just about the earthquake. Right. It doesn't matter if you sent that invoice or that proposal or whatever.
Right. Life changed.
Yeah, those moments really like, to me, put it into perspective where I'm like, yeah, like things can change. You can only really deal with what you can do. What was the other?
Don't make assumptions.
Oh yes,
that's the third one.
Of course, yeah, that's a great one.
I always thought it was similar to don't take anything personally, but maybe I guess it's different. But yeah, also great advice.
Yeah.
But don't take anything personally. That makes sense. Don't make assumptions. That makes sense. Always do your best. That makes sense. Be impeccable with your word. That doesn't quite make sense. What do you mean by impeccable?
So
what is impeccability?
Think about when you've been around somebody who seems like really wise, and really like just together. Are they blah, 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 blah. There's a slowness. There's a deliberateness. Not talking just to hear your own voice or so that people can know that you know something. You know what I mean? I don't know, for some reason this one resonates with me, and I think about my yoga teacher Mirabelle when I think about this one. And when you're in your breath, so breath work is, like, to me, revolutionary. I think we all need to be teaching breath work in elementary school all the way to high school. I don't think we would have the mental health issues we're having now.
Interesting.
I don't think we'd have, like, all of the ADHD as many issues.
Right.
Anxiety that is through the roof.
Right.
Not just in high schools, but really all over.
Right.
But yeah, being in your body and your breath you'll know if you're like a little shaky inside or something's bothering you. But if you can come back to your breath and connect to your breath and start listening to your body, so listening to the tightness or listening to the agitation, whatever you feel, pains, you start to learn how to listen and respond. And a lot of the times it means saying nothing and doing nothing but breathing. Being in your breath. Once you come back to your breath, so I did it before I came inside.
Cool.
I was in my car and I just did a couple ohms and got into my body. And when I'm in my body, I feel like normal. I feel like me. I don't feel like shaky.
So explain how that goes a little bit if you're doing some ohms. Like, what are your...
Well, so the biggest thing is like getting your body into alignment. And if the simplest thing is even just to breathe in through your nose, like just try it. Let's do one. So
I've been practicing it for a few years. Yeah. So I do, comes down the face, down the throat. And I think about the chakras. Yeah. As it goes down. It's touching each one. I love that there's 7 chakras. I never thought about this because the heart is the middle one. So you got 3 above and then 3 below. And I feel like the heart is always, it's like a slingshot that you pull and the other ones sort of come with it. And then I'll breathe down the front and then I would close the perineum muscles to try and push the energy up the spine. Thanks, David Data, this superior man, I think. Yeah, and it's, and then what was it, David Data? David Data, yeah.
Is that an online, like, dude?
He's an author, DEIDA. I don't think he has YouTube or anything like that, but he has, some good books, actually. And he taught me to do breath work. So that's kind of how I do it.
Yeah, I mean, in the most basic that anyone could do, whatever, is, just breathing in through your nose and then breathing out through your mouth. And to actually, literally to calm your nervous system. So if you feel shaky or tight inside. And I think actually if people just were to, because maybe that sounds foreign, but if you pay attention even for the next 24 hours, you're going to notice, like, in different circumstances, like little tightnesses that might show up in everyday circumstances. So breathing in through your nose and then a simple relaxation breath out is not complicated, maybe count to 5 on the way in, 5 on the way out. But there's a bunch of other types of practices, pranayama practices.
Like what else? Give me one.
Like alternate nose breathing.
I did those, yeah.
Yeah, or breath of fire, like...
What's that one? Oh, that's the one. I never quite get that.
So I really like this one, and Kundalini yoga has been, literally was like a therapy.
Right.
And when I say that, like... me getting into there was a point in my life where I was under so much pressure, and Andrew was a teenager, so there was teenager stuff, I was kind of in a weird spot in my relationship, and my business was like doing well, but I wasn't sure if I liked my clients. So, I'm like, great, I've got all these consulting clients, and, I want to, like, throw them out the window sometimes.
Right.
And it could have been hormonal changes, too. Like, there's a whole bunch of mix that goes into it. But I knew, like, I had gone to counseling a little bit, and I was like, you know what? I just got to get into my body. And you're like, what does that mean? Really and truly, like getting into your breath and feeling, like literally just going, noticing, like how you mentioned, you feel the breath, you notice. You're paying attention to your body. You're actually listening. So for me at the time, because I'd hurt my back and I was just like not functioning well on anyone's terms, I don't think. And I decided to go back to Kundalini yoga. Kundalini is literally that. It's focused on the energy moving up the Kundalini energy. So
up the chakras?
Up, through your spine, all the way up and down.
Okay.
And that breath of fire is the breath that you do when you're in a posture. So you get into like warrior pose or whatever, or even like hugging your knees to your chest, and then you do that.
And then you do that?
Yeah, and it really clears the lungs.
So what is it? Are you breathing really fast in and out?
So you imagine that you're pulling your belly button into your spine, your mouth is closed, and you're just exhaling through your nose. Now, you naturally inhale, but you don't really have to try. So it's more, the focus is more on the exhale. So if you just imagine belly button and go, and you do it like 30 seconds or 60 seconds while you're in a posture.
Okay.
Keep going. Yeah. And then you do like a relaxation breath after, like, and let it out through your mouth. It's very awakening.
So what does it do? Because I felt like I lost my breath. Is that the point?
Well, you're really clearing out your lungs. So you're getting rid of stale air that's been in there.
Okay.
Okay. And you know what? Some of these practices,
I go try that one. I go try it when I do my meditations.
Yeah.
I go throw that one into the mix.
Yeah. Try it. The point is, though, is that if we're not in our breath, so if you take someone who's having an anxiety attack, which I think the majority of the world has these little mini ones throughout the day, the first thing they'll do, medically speaking, to slow your nervous system down is that relaxation breath. So if someone were to start there, just focus on filling up your belly, then your lungs, broaden your lungs all the way up to your throat, and then exhaling, releasing it, and then on the way out, put it. Pulling your belly button towards your spine.
Okay.
So just a really long, full breath. To me, that you could just do that. And
right. Because an anxiety attack is usually the same time your body is...
Right.
Right? So like those two things exist, like a chicken or egg thing.
Right.
So using the body as the tool, like to slow down the breathing,
right,
will then counteract the anxiety.
Correct. Yeah. So there's a whole, if you want to look up sometime called heart math. So my girlfriend's certified in heart math. Heart math. I
love that.
So I'm not an instructor in it, but my girlfriend did it during COVID because she's a teacher and she just had this opportunity. There was they were developing it. She teaches grade 3 and they were developing heart math curriculum for elementary school. So she was able to trial it, learn how to do it, and advise on it.
Okay, what is it?
So heart math, the most simple exercise that you start out with is actually what I was talking about this whole time is the gratitude practice.
Cool.
But the scientific part, this is why I love heart math, because it speaks to people like you and kind of male brain or kind of right brain, whatever thinking, where it's literally science. So when we get into any form of stress, there's an electrical pulse that our heart sends to our brain through our nervous system to say danger, alert, which back in caveman days, you're being attacked by a cheetah.
Right.
In Cayman days, someone just cut you off on the roundabout. It's totally different.
Right.
We don't need to go into that hiya, I don't need to defend my life. That's
fascinating.
Right? So that electrical pulse is gone there. You can't change it. It is there. It's kind of that's why I said it's energy in motion. That energy is already in motion.
Right.
It's already happened.
Right.
So one of the ways to combat it that they teach in heart math, and they teach this to frontline workers emergency services and people with prone to PTSD from dealing with lots of trauma.
Right.
School teachers, and now they're teaching it to little kids, is that you just do that simple breath. So you get into your body and you breathe in through your nose, do a relaxation breath out, and then you can close your eyes or you can do it with your eyes open. That's the cool thing. You can do this anywhere. And you just imagine a light, pink or white light going into your heart center. And you start for like 30 to 60 seconds. They say 60 seconds. You just give gratitude. So like I'll start thinking about like how amazing the avocado toast was earlier. It was one of those real buttery avocados. It was so good.
Did it have a little salt?
Gratitude for my like satin inside hat, and for like time with Badir, and for the amazing sunset last night. Your body.
It was amazing.
So it was really cool. I got a really cool photo. What your body does, what that light, for whatever reason, this is math, okay? By me sending that love, my heart is then telling my brain that it's okay, that it's safe. And you don't even have to know or believe anything to do this. This is literally, they've tested it. They've shown it works.
Yeah.
They're treating people from the services like PTSD people, like it just works.
Right.
It's science.
It's science, and it's rational. It makes sense. That's.
And so when I learned about this, because I've always kind of spoke both languages, like I'm really woo-woo granola-y. And then I've also been like really businessy, and I'm a math brain. Like I always loved math in school.
Yeah.
And so with business, like my brain is very like.
Yeah, you can walk those two worlds.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I find is that because I started, like I literally went to a healing arts school. Like that's the only school I went to, and I've like gone down this business train.
Right.
But it's all natural remedies and natural practices or things with my body have just made sense. They just feel right.
Yeah.
And maybe like I somehow think maybe it was my martial arts background, like because we would meditate and be in Sesa and you're meditating.
Okay.
I think you feel it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the reason is, but it's just always seemed like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like if I can put aloe on or eat some like turmeric ginger thing and I feel better, why on earth am I going to go get some chemical made up? Like unless I have to, don't get me wrong. If I break my leg or something, not that I touch wood, whatever, but I'm going to go to a hospital and they're going to fix it with their, what they have.
Right.
But if my body was designed to completely heal itself and live in harmony with the earth, then we've got to have all the tools we need here.
Right.
And somewhere along the lines, we forgot how to listen to our body.
Yeah.
We forgot how to live in joy and love, and got really maybe too like focused on, industrial and this, like, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was like too much of man's world that we forgot the softer fluidity, whatever it is. I think there's a whole movement now and more of a normalcy to like find that. Like people seem more interested, like, oh yeah, like less afraid of like, oh, breath work. Okay, yeah. I could have this conversation probably in an office now and they wouldn't think I was crazy. But 20 years ago, they'd be like, hippie chick over here.
I love that. It's like having the tools. You have the tools to change your circumstance, to change how you react, feeling your heart and feeling those emotions. I love that heart math. I'm definitely going to look into that.
Yeah. Yeah, heart math.
And hold on, let me type that in.
Yeah, I think Mirabelle's offering some sessions here. But it spoke to me because I've always really appreciated things. I guess where I was going with that is that I really appreciate when things are explained and they make sense and they help people that, maybe don't believe or can't comprehend. It brings it all together. And I love that. Like to me, like a mainstream appreciation and education awareness about breath work alone or movement. We've forgotten, like we were meant to move.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I talk a lot, bring this up on the podcast all the time, just about education, because you brought it up earlier, like why are we not educating the kids in breath work, right? It's such a useful tool.
Absolutely. It's
for
actually
everyone to have.
Yeah, it is our life.
Right.
If we don't breathe, think about it, we're dead. Literally. So
And that there's different qualities of breathing,
Right.
you know? Like that why would you don't even think about that.
Right.
But there definitely is.
Absolutely.
Right? And you know, I have this theory now. Do you ever have, a lot of people have this dream. Do you have this dream where you can float? No?
Where I'll like walk and take a step.
Exactly.
And it's like,
okay, so you do have it.
Oh yeah.
And you're just like floating?
Yeah, it's kind of flying. Like I've actually been like, where I'll kind of be like floating. Yeah, like fly.
Yeah.
Like
And you can always
catch
just
air.
stay. Yeah.
And I always think it's real, like in a way. Like I'll wake.
I know it's such a good feeling.
But it feels, and I will tell you. So I did triple jump in grade 8, 7, 8, whatever, track and field.
Right.
But
you're kind of like triple jumping in the dream. You're like shh.
Yeah. So I remember when I was like this one track meet, and I got really good air, and I felt like I had. Like, it was like I paused.
Right.
Because it's like you do triple jump, right? You do boom, boom. And then the last one is that.
Right.
And if you get a lot of stretch on both, like the skip, the jump, and the thing, you really like it. You can almost feel that. I remember feeling like it was that.
You know what my theory is about that dream? Is that at that point, your body is doing these big, deep breaths.
Maybe.
And then when you inhale, and then your exhale is like the jump.
I love that.
Yeah. So you're exhaling, you're still flying, and then you finally land, and then you inhale. And that's my theory, to bring it back to breath work.
Well, you know how we were talking, you kind of said like it's about having these tools, right? Like I really have this theory that we're all here to just figure out the best recipe for our own bodies. For our own spirit, that and it changes. I'll tell you, because what my recipe is now is not what it was when 20 years ago, right?
Makes sense.
Or maybe it was, and I just didn't know it yet. But I think leaning into that and finding what works for you is like absolutely the key. And these little tools that seem so simple, they actually work. Breathing, gratitude. It's so basic, but it actually works. Or conscious eating. If you sit down and literally, like, no one knows that I do this. This was something I picked up in Bali as well, because it's their culture. It's the culture just to. I know we bless our food and other, but it was something different. There was something about they would just put their hands and bless their food. And so I got this, and actually when you're learning like the principles of yoga, really it's about that presence and embodiment and elevating, like raising the vibration of everything you do. So if my food was like hastily put together and like, and then I'm shoving it in, do you really think my body's ready to receive it and is going to do all it's going to have the effect?
That's right.
Probably not. But if I just take a moment, get into my breath, just one nice breath. So I'm in my body, meaning I feel my body. I'm noticing my body. And I just say a little prayer, like, may all the nutrients nourish my body and all the waste go out. Now, this is my little life hack to the fact that I can't afford to eat everything organic. And I can't afford to be perfect. It just doesn't work.
Right.
But I do my best. Yeah. So I know that I try to go to the market. I grow some stuff. I know about the dirty dozen, like health-wise. So like if a fruit's on the dirty, or veggies on the dirty dozen, it means they're likely to have a lot of pesticides and bad stuff. And if it's on the clean 15, then you're pretty good. You don't really have to buy organic. Okay. Like, so little things like that.
Right.
But ultimately, whether it's the vaccine that we don't know about, whatever, but I'm like, as long as I just trust and have faith, like, may all the goodness, I'm at least elevating something.
Right.
I'm giving my body a better chance to receive and to process and to lovingly take what it can and then expel what it doesn't need. And just, it's like setting yourself up for success, by just being present. And then the food tastes better. Like you digest it better.
I remember in the DOT shoot when we were in Cayman Little Cayman.
Little, yeah.
that particular lunch, I was completely stressed and had like 5 minutes. And I remember the food just got lodged basically right there. Like you wouldn't even want to digest.
Yeah.
And it was because of the circumstance and how I ate the food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
I just find it fascinating because some of the things that I've experienced, witnessed that work, that heal, that really make my life better, make my body better. It's like, it doesn't really make sense. It does make sense, but it's kind of like too good to be true because it's using what we have. It's being conscious and using what we have.
I love that we're talking about this, because I feel like I'm the only one sometimes. Like,
I feel like we all need to teach kids how to be human again. And these are the parts. It's like, if we're only on this earth to really experience what it's like in the human body, then let's be in our bodies.
Right.
Like, let's feel it. Let's breathe it. Let's absolutely notice instead of shutting off.
Right.
Like, it's easy to do. It's not like I'm, haven't been there too. When we get busy and we kind of just go through the thing, go through the motions, and all of a sudden you're really aching. You're like, or you put on some weight. You're like, what's going on? It's like you just kind of numbed out and just kept going. And it takes a bit of, discipline and maybe some bravery to like do something different or try something different.
And I don't know if it's true, but I feel like that feeling your body and being intentional and breathing and present can be a remedy for the mental anxieties that we face. I don't know if that's true or not, but I feel like it can be.
That's what I was telling you, the science of heart math. There's it's scientifically, like, you got to watch their video that they do, but it actually does calm your nervous system. And if your nervous system is under stress, most of people's diseases and ailments in life can link back to some stress.
Right.
Whether it's stress from something your body experienced, whether it's stress from the food that you're eating, or like, maybe you're drinking too much, but stress, or stress at work, stress at home. Stress is usually the number one cause of anything and everything. So if we know that, that our bodies, I do believe that we're all kind of like a car, like there's certain cars, like I've driven convertibles, and my Volkswagen convertible was like the windows would do this thing and kind of script, and every owner of the same car, like, oh yeah, mine did that too, right? So I know that there might be like weaknesses that I'm more susceptible to, that my mom was susceptible to, that, my dad, that type of thing. So it's going to show up in a certain way, but we're not at the mercy. Just because we have that tendency doesn't mean if we don't take care of our joints and our body and, flush our system and our gut health and our, mental health, then we're going to be a well-maintained vehicle that those little quirks either don't happen or they're not as big of a deal.
Right.
That's to me kind of like it's like a no-brainer. But I think we forget, like, I think people often when I speak about this, sometimes people are like, yeah, but I don't have time or this or that. And that's where I'm like, absolutely not. It's down to the basics. If you just start with the gratitude practice, just literally a couple times a day, just stop and be thankful for something, for anything. Yeah. And it's amazing. Your body actually calms.
For sure.
And can literally repair itself.
For sure. And that's why when I just do my 15 minutes in the afternoon. Like, I get it. Like, people can be more spontaneous than me, but like that grounds me. Like, I go and I do, it's just 15 minutes. I time the phone so it counts down and the alarm will go off when it reaches the end of 15. And that works wonders. And then usually, actually, when I do that, more often than not, and then later on when I'm at home at night, I'll take another moment to appreciate where I am and the presence. And it's a great tool to have for sure. We should be teaching kids some of this basic stuff.
Well, I think we overlook that maybe it's not so basic. Maybe it's fundamentally, critical for even just sustaining ourselves. Like, healthcare costs are very expensive, and it's questionable when you go through the healthcare system. Like, you're the only one that knows your body better than anybody.
Better than anybody. Any of them doctors don't.
The only person that can tell you if what you're feeling or confirm what you're feeling inside is you. So I think so movement and breath is really just a way that we're connecting and able to listen. Because if you're...
That's what's so good about the gym too, I guess, right?
Yeah,
and
if you're conscious, if you're paying attention and you're conscious.
Because you have to feel your body when you're doing that, right?
Yeah. I have this thing though with gyms. Like I'm really an alignment person. Like I really feel, I think because I started in physiotherapy, like the massage career was at a physio place. So I would see all these injuries. And it can be something simple. Like someone's like, oh, they go work out, they do all these things, but all they did was move the groceries from here to here and they've got this pain and whatever.
Right.
So to me, it taught me and reaffirmed what I knew already, which was being conscious with your movements. So people that do go to the gym, I'd be one of those trainers that'd be like, take 10 pounds off that and focus on your form. And really, like, if your shoulders are back, then you can still do whatever it is you're doing.
And then you can step up.
Up.
Right.
So gyms stress me out because I see people doing things like...
with heavy weight and bad form. Yeah, fair. Yeah, I'm like, I just meant physical exertion.
No, for sure. No, it's a great tool. Like, it works for certain people. That's just hey, advice, If you're going to use the gym, like, make sure or anything really, like, it's actually being conscious no matter what the activity is. It's
right.
It's usually
because I've gone to the gym not really conscious before.
Right. Yeah. And usually that's when an injury is more likely to happen.
For sure. And then usually when you go to the gym conscious, you use less weight.
Okay.
And you concentrate on your form a little more.
Oh, interesting.
Right? Yeah, I find, for sure.
Well, and then there's the whole ego brain.
Right.
Too,
like who's going to walk in and see me with a small weight?
Right. Yeah. And I think that's something that is more difficult as when you're younger. I think as you get older, you're like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, true. But I think younger people, our ego can, get in the way sometimes.
Sure.
Of this practice that we're talking about. This like slow down. Don't need to prove anything, but, I'm going to be impeccable with my word.
There you go. I love that.
Yeah. So, being impeccable with my word, instead of saying, if you get, I'll be like, when you get this podcast on Spotify.
You're right. You're right.
That's an example of like, also being impeccable with our word.
Right.
Is that you can do little affirmations and little intentions all throughout the day if you just shift your wording. And I really believe that because you know how they talk about like the power of self-talk and manifesting?
We talk about that all the time.
Yeah, if you're saying like things that are negative multiple times a day, like that's to me sending conflicting
your body is reacting to that. And no, Althea, the director of CICBD in the first class, that was the first thing was like the mindset. And then one of the first books they recommend was something called Autosuggestion by like an author from like early 20th century or something. And it was, it was basically that. Take 10 minutes or not even take 3 minutes and repeat some day by day in every way I'm getting better and better. And repeat it 20 times.
One. That's a nice
day by day in every way we're getting better and better.
Yeah.
And and just do that. And this is kind of an old book.
Yeah.
All right. And
but same
principle.
Yeah.
And it's based on the same heart math, I guess, and that, when you're saying these words or being impeccable with your word, it's having
your body's
responding to it.
Yeah.
And
it's powerful.
And you tend to feel better, you're more positive, and you let those fears go, you're more confident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So taking that to the next level or of being in our body, being impeccable with our word, my new like awakening or focus or something is that as I lean into faith, I realize that if I go anywhere like this today or like a job interview or a meeting or a date or whatever, where you might be nervous, if I get in my breath where I know I'm connected to my breath, meaning there's breath flowing through and there's a sense of ease in my body, I feel absolutely more connected to source. And I have this sense of faith and knowing that it doesn't matter what I do or say, everything that comes out is going to be exactly the way it's supposed to. Meaning, I already have all the wisdom. I don't need to rehearse it. I've got all the knowledge I have. I'm not going to have picked up anything more in the last 5 minutes, but I'm able to tap into it because it's all there. So if I'm coming from that place of breath and having faith and just trusting and knowing, and you're in that calm, regulated state, it just flows.
Yeah, you're good in any situation.
Yeah, it doesn't
You're
matter
good
what
in
the
every
situation.
Yeah.
Whatever needs to come you have the ability to receive it.
Right. Yeah. Powerful stuff, powerful tools for us to use.
Yeah.
And
look at us. We went all around solving all life's problems in one podcast. If only it was that easy. Now, like, I think we're both, one of the things I feel like we, connect on is that we're both keen and interested in like tapping into this and living this way. It's a value that I think we both hold, is that, doing our best every day and, gaining little insights, little tools and little to help our personal recipe, and then passing it along if we can. If we can help somebody else, get one little glimpse that goes, oh yeah, and they feel calm and they're able to be themselves and express themselves in whatever that looks like, whether it's a cool film project or, a new business or a piece of artwork. That is where the magic happens.
That's where the authenticity is.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Love that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. I love it.
Me too.
I like that you're doing this to kind of have this dialogue. I think it's really cool to get different perspectives and from a local Cayman place, we have our own little universe here.
It's true.
I mean, we're connected to the world, but sometimes it really does feel like we have our own little special bubble.
For sure.
But one thing I love about our little bubble is that we get so many people coming through, and it does often feel like we have, kind of access and influence from the whole world.
Yeah, it's true.
Even though it's this like small town.
Right.
What's our population now? Like, are we at like 81?
So I heard.
It's a small city. Like,
tell me when we reach 100, yeah.
You waiting for that?
I mean,
you're gonna know. Trust me.
Yeah, I kind of know already.
You'll be on traffic and you'll be like, oh yeah. I tell you, if we could just like talk about changing the culture of, if we could get a culture of like allowing this bike lane, scooter lane thing to exist, whatever, way we do that. I mean, it's our only way forward. Like, make it easier to ride up and down on some little thing, because we can only put so many cars.
I live west, yo. I don't know.
West is best. You got the easy way in.
Easy, no traffic. I don't know. Like, it's an existential thing for me, honestly, that traffic. Yeah. It's rough.
Yeah.
It's rough. Yeah. I guess, even in those moments, you can, if you're really conscious and authentic of where you are and who you are, you can enjoy moments in traffic, right? There's a lot to be.
Yeah. And also, I think with all this, like, wellness, woo-woo stuff, people can get frustrated and be like, oh, it's not like all roses all the time. And I think that's where, you're going to have maybe moments of like anger.
That's why I just do 15 minutes a day. I mean, and even that has been, it's changed me a lot.
Yeah. But like acceptance, like, you can accept that there might be moments where you feel angry or sad or whatever, but you just let them come through. Maybe don't.
It's more like a passive reaction as opposed to, it doesn't have to be an active reaction. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like an acceptance.
Acceptance. Yeah. Yeah. And actually, that's the big thing with traffic, like acceptance. If you accept that you are where you are and you're never going to get there fast or safely, you can just lean in, put on that podcast, listen to Badir and I talk, and just like cruise on in. And, it's funny. I'll give you an example. Like this is a Cayman. This is an island thing. Okay.
What?
I think we all need to do our best at all times to be on time. I get that. And I do try my best to schedule my days to allow for the buffer. That's like growth for me, right? Allow buffer time. Yeah. But if I'm not going to get there, or if I'm not going to deliver something on time, especially if I'm able to communicate it and not leave someone high and dry or whatever, do you think that I am going to lose my mind and stress over it?
Right.
No.
Right.
I'm not. Because it's not doing anyone any good.
Right.
And what I love, for some reason, I don't know if it's because I have this attitude, but like, things just always work out. Like, even if somebody delays something on me, like they didn't get, somehow,
if you're patient,
it just kind of
works out better sometimes. Like,
or like, it just so happened that, oh, I don't really need that now, especially if I'm not freaking out or stressed somehow. So yesterday, we bought this boat, right? This is the like leaning into like, okay, Cayman's expensive. Do I even want to be here? Well, if I'm going to be here, I want to like experience.
I want a boat.
I want to experience. I've never lived in that. I've done a lot of land-based Cayman. Like, I know how to weave thatch and make a heavy cake, but put me on a boat, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I just go out to Stingray once in a while.
Right.
So anyways, Chris was going to find some part to like service it before we put it in or whatever. And then I was going to meet him back at the house because he was going to look at a vehicle that I might buy. And I wanted him to check it with me.
Right.
And they messaged me and canceled. But he wanted to stop at one more place, and I hadn't told him yet. So he's busting it to get from Parker's on a Friday, right? Back to South Sound to then go back to Napa. Wow. And he's like, I rushed all the way home. And later, and after he calmed down later, I said, by the way, there's some rule in the universe that I know about. If you were going to like be so stressed out to get back, that means you don't need to do that. And if you really could have stopped at Napa, most of the time, stop at Napa, because it's like you needed it. It was in your flow. Yeah. I don't know if you notice this when you feel like some days you're like off your flow. And when you're in your flow, everything, like green lights, this person, that person. It's so true. And when you sometimes deviate from the path that felt like easy, everything can go. So there is a certain like listening, and finding that ease and trusting that life is not supposed to be that stressful and hard. So lean into that ease. It was just funny because that example, he went home for nothing because the person canceled. That was going to meet us. And so he could have stopped. And what's the good thing about my growth is that way a long time ago, I would have felt guilty. I would have felt bad that he did that. Yeah. But I didn't do anything wrong. I had no thing about it.
Right. That's important too.
But yeah, I guess where I'm going with it is that there's something about the ease of island time and island people that, something might take a little longer. But I tell you, when you have those relationships in that flow, it just all works out. Right. Even me being in East End, making that rope and being late for that meeting or whatever, you guys ended up delaying the start anyways, and you didn't really need, like, if I had been trying to be perfect, I would have busted to be perfect and whatever. And this is where film set world and like especially some of the people that have been in film set forever, they would never understand the theory that I just told you. 'Cause you need to get back, you get back. It doesn't matter if you're like gonna like break your leg doing it, you get back. Whereas I've taken a different page out of my own book that feels more authentic and natural, where no, if I had to go too hard and maybe risk something or be unsafe, I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And if it's in traffic, contemplating life, listening to our podcast, then you're exactly where you need to be. And just lean in and accept it. And if you're late, then just do better tomorrow. Build that buffer time in tomorrow, right?
Well, now that you're bringing up the time thing, I have dinner later, and
yeah, me too.
Some people are messaging me about questions that need to be answered, but it's been a great conversation.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure.
Yeah, and thanks for coming. Yeah, thanks for being open to it. I enjoyed the conversation. That's really what it's about for me. Yeah. I think there's a lot of there's a lot to gain from it, So thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be on the Badir podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could have so many more podcasts, and we could keep going for hours, I'm sure, right? But, so yeah, let's do it again.
Yeah, definitely.
And I hope to see you more often. It's been a while.
It has.
Yeah.
I know we haven't had a project to work on.
Right. Well, we know those are still going to come. That's for sure. So I look forward to seeing what that next one is. So, all right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye.